So incorrect thoughts normally हर aspect life में भी और mistakes में भी same चीज applicable होती है, that if you can understand कि उसका source क्या है, as you are saying कि why did that thought even come to my mind, right? Of course, if you can identify, get to that source, then you can address that. And then if the source is addressed, that's always better. But sometimes, so let's say take another case. For example, some people make silly mistakes, right? For example, मतलब I have also heard कि somebody was doing a math question, 2 plus 3, she wrote it as 6. Okay. Now, naturally, why did I make that mistake? There is no idea. Sometimes there is absolutely no idea. Then what do? Then we try to find patterns. That's how also we figure out causality in normal life also. Uh, for example, कि आपने you observed कि you said something और उसको गुस्सा आया, and ठीक है, and but क्यों आया, you have no idea. So you make a hypothesis, but then you see कि और किस context में गुस्सा आ रहा है, and then you realize कि possibly this cause makes sense, right? Similarly, in mistakes and in terms of this comprehension also, in case of mistakes also, so we may not know the source कि exactly 2 plus 3 को मेरे mind ने 6 कैसे सोच लिया. One natural hypothesis which I could come up with कि you are so used to looking at 2 into 3, right? तो इसलिए शायद 6 सोच लिया हो, but 2 plus 3 इतना common नहीं है. 2 into 3 is more common. Perhaps, I don't know. But then we don't know at this stage. और 2 into 3 सोच भी लिया तो उससे हमें क्या हेल्प मिलेगी? कैसे उसको बोलें 2 into 3 नहीं सोचना, right? Then the next thing is to see what other kinds of mistakes you are making. And then you may be able to come up with a more reasonable thing कि या फिर एक तो हो सकता है you may get to the source. अच्छा, this is where the problem lies. अच्छा, conceptually there is some problem. For example, assumption question गलत हो रहे हैं, realize कि अच्छा negation गलत हो रहा है, negation इतने क्यों गलत हो रहे हैं, whatever, okay, or could be something else. So एक तो हो गया that you get to the source and then you go back to the negation concept, see कि क्या differences हैं, and then you may be able to solve the problem. The second is you are making some mistake but you don't know कि you can see the pattern but you don't know why the pattern exists. Why? Right? But you know there is a pattern. So the other sort of ways, one is addressing the cause, the other is sort of just having a hack in terms of uh, that you just consciously slow down at those stages in which you know that you are more prone to making mistakes and then cross verify. For example, I know that I have a tendency to mix up pronouns, sort of gender-based pronouns, him, her. So let's say I'm talking about your brother. So now I'm talking about a girl's brother. So there are males, females, both involved. In that sentence, I have a tendency to mix up his, him, her, whatever. Okay, so I may mix up gender pronouns. I will not mix up gender pronouns. So I'll not say him for a girl or her for a boy or a male in normal sentences. But when both the genders are involved, especially when I'm talking about, let's say, a boy's sister, a boy's mother, or a girl's, you understand? So there is a girl and boy both in a relationship to each other, then there is an increased tendency to make mistakes in terms of those pronouns. And I'm aware. Now, why do I make that mistake? I don't know. But since now I've clearly understood it, so I selectively slow down in those sentences to be sure that I'm using the right pronoun. Okay, so if you're paying a lot of attention, then you may notice that I slow down a little in those sentences. Otherwise, of course, since the amount of slowdown is not great, if you're not paying attention, you may not observe that I've slowed down. But consciously, I know that I slow down in those sentences. So the other is that so you just observe the pattern and then you just extra careful in those areas.
Okay.
Okay, so it's like you, for example, you keep slipping and then you realize, okay, I slip in those surfaces. Why do I slip in those surfaces very often? Could be something has to do with your way of walking, something has to do with your the way your foot is curved and all that. Could be, I don't know what reasons. So you may not get to the reason. And of course, it's always better if you can get to the reason and if you can address that source. But sometimes, even if you don't, you just know that these are the surfaces on which I'm likely to fall. You just slow down and walk more carefully. That may also solve your problem. Right?
Yes, yes, yes.
So here, why is your mind thinking like that? We don't know. But uh, so there are, of course, one is why did that thought even come? Second is, why did you accept it and not even have a doubt about it? The second is a
Mm,
bigger problem and something more in conscious control.
mm,
Thought arising is definitely not in your conscious control. Thought तो आ सकता है, but उसको accept करके move on कर देना कि yeah, I can be sure about it. That's a little
mm,
more in conscious control. Why did you do that? Why did the doubt even not come?
mm.
So again you may not have an answer कि doubt भी क्यों नहीं आया. बात तो सही है. ऐसा how was I sure कि इसको ऐसे ही देखेंगे. But then you may keep writing such instances that this is where I went wrong. I did not have a doubt. Then gradually you may come to a stage where you'll start having doubts. That's improvement.
Mm.
Hmm. But good to know, yeah. Good takeaways.
सर वो
Uh,
एक्चुअली पैसेज में अगर कहीं कॉन्ट्रडिक्ट होता है ना स्टेटमेंट देन यू गेट टू अंडरस्टैंड अच्छा probably I've not understood it correctly. So then you tend to have doubt, okay, 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 this is what it meant. But if there's no contradiction, maybe frugivores would have contradicted. पता नहीं frugivores में seed cracking भी तो ठीक ही है सर.
नहीं वो तो ठीक है. वो तो आप कह रहे हो कि हाँ कुछ एक्सटर्नल हेल्प मिलेगी तब तो मैं चल सकती हूँ. अपने आप नहीं चल सकती सरफेस पे.
क्योंकि वो कॉन्ट्रडिक्ट नहीं कर रहा ना मेरा स्टेटमेंट सर. कुछ तो होना चाहिए टू मतलब मुझे पूरा पैसेज समझ आ गया देयर इज नो स्टेटमेंट दैट इज कॉन्ट्रडिक्टिंग. मे बी लेटर ऑन इफ दे वुड हैव सेड नो दे वर ओमनीवोर्स देन प्रोबेबली आई वुड हैव बीन ओ आई डिडंट अंडरस्टैंड करेक्टली क्योंकि सीड क्रैकिंग समझा.
नहीं ठीक है,
बट
फिर उससे क्या कहना चाहते हो? वो तो
अगर
ठीक है, आप कह रहे हो कि पैसेज ही कॉन्ट्रडिक्ट कर देता मेरी अंडरस्टैंडिंग को, देन डेफिनेटली आई वुड हैव चेंज्ड, राइट?
हाँ
बट फिर
ऐसे
उससे
सर मुझे
क्या?
फिर तो सर हर चीज को ही मैं डाउट करने लग जाऊंगी ये क्यों एक्सेप्ट सही कर लिया मैंने. मतलब
अच्छा, तो ये कहना
आई डोंट नो
चाहते हैं.
व्हाट टू डाउट एंड व्हाट नॉट टू डाउट.
हाँ. Okay, so हाँ, so essentially this is the question you are trying to ask. Okay, you are saying that I should have doubts, but then should I doubt everything?
या
Uh, to some extent, yes. Uh, to some extent. So again, it's also about, let's say people say, well, I'm making mistakes, so I should slow down. So slow down universally or specifically, right?
यस
And then the
यस.
question is, okay, if I universally slow down, तो कैसी हो पाएगी चीजें?
हम्म
Naturally, the sensible thing is to slow down selectively. That in those
हम्म
instances where you're likely to make mistakes, you slow down. Otherwise, you don't slow down.
हम्म
Same with having doubts also. So if you don't have any idea कि मैं कौन से surface पे गिर रही हूँ, तो you आपको if you have to prevent your falling, then naturally you have to slow down universally, and then you
हम्म
start paying attention. Okay, on these surfaces I fall, and then you can selectively slow down.
हम्म
But पहले, if you don't have any idea, then you have to universally slow down. And jitna jaldi you can get to the identifying specific areas. Of course, narrowing down may also happen over time. कि पहले you may realize कि in 50% में तो I'm very clear. So 50% में I don't need to doubt myself. Then in the remaining 50%, okay, these 30% I'm clear, 20%. So you narrow down your areas जहाँ पे it makes sense to have doubts. So of course, it's not that 20% things are wrong, but
हम्म
20% things are not consistently right.
हम्म
So you'll doubt yourself in those areas. But even that, how did you arrive at 20%? But essentially, if you did not have any idea to begin with, then essentially starting from 100%.
हम्म
And if you had some idea that, no, these are the statements I'm very clear about, these are the contexts I'm clear about. then you don't need to doubt in those contexts.
Okay.
क्या आंसर दिया, मजा आ गया मुझे. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else? Any? Anything else?
No, sir. I mean, that's it from my side.
Okay. What about others? Any remnants from the last session?
Hello, CJ. Good evening.
Yeah, hi, Pushpa.
Hi. So just want to tell you one realization from the last session. I
Okay.
think I was not able to join like full class, but maybe in between because
Okay.
of some office one. But
Okay.
yes, when I rethought again, I realized that I was right in all the questions, but my 100% comprehension or process was not correct. I mean, sometimes it happens that, I'm getting the right answer, but my logic was not 100% correct. So I can't be overconfident on myself, but at least, maybe for some incorrect logic or maybe by luck, I got the answer. But then again, um, after rechecking, I realized that, okay, ये मेरी understanding नहीं थी. Maybe out of 10 things, I was correct in maybe 5 or 6, but still, there is always a lot of learning in place in all those areas. So, this gives me sense of things that even if I'm correct, I should check myself again that why I was correct and why I got the answer. Previously, I never used to do it. Okay.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
yeah. So, let's say if I get an answer, so, okay, I just move ahead. And wherever I'm going wrong, I just try to follow the pattern. But here also, I find a error in my process as well. Even if I get an answer, I should be make sure that my logic and the answer logic has to be in sync. Otherwise, I will repeat that mistake maybe in another pattern somewhere.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
this is kind of one learning. But I have like 1 or 2 questions from my, though I'm like little irregular because I changed my place and job. But yes, I started again, and I want to ask you a few questions. So when I was doing CR, I find one of the mistake in my process. So I'm able to trip down 3 options, okay, which is out of scope or relevant. And then because I reread again, sometimes it happens like I'm not able to make connection with the conclusion and or maybe whatever is the type of question. So then again, instead of investing time in last two critical option, and then I just sometimes mark because I'm falling short of time. So then I realized that when I reread again, I was getting the right answer, but because of the time pressure and for that scenario, so how to keep myself reminding that I have to do active reading rather than passive reading? Because sometimes it happens that we just read and sometimes nothing goes in our head, and then again I have to read it. So how I should make sure that I know it, but how I should remind myself again and again so that I shouldn't do this mistake. So this is my first question to you.
Second question.
Second question is, I face difficulty, let's say, wherever I am giving a note, then I'm not able to skip any question. Skip meaning, let's say if I invested maybe 2 or 3 minutes, after that also, I keep solving again and again, and that happens essentially in maybe 1 to 10 or 15 because somebody told us that for first to 10 you are not supposed to do any mistake, then only the graph user. So how I should skip off and shouldn't worry about uh, those questions, because even if I skip it, I keep thinking, okay, my score will come down. So that skipping part, I do not do it consciously. I stuck in question, and that is only when I know that I can do it. And there are some questions where I realize that okay, these are not in my 2 minute bracket. then I skip it. But these are those questions where I get the conviction that I can do it, but I'm not able to do in 2 minutes. And then again, I rereading and then solving, I mean, investing time in this thing, and again, essentially maybe 5-6 minutes in the question, and my timing goes fits off in later of the question. So these are like some of the things I'm feeling.
So you're saying, so there are questions that you're aware that you can't do, so you end up skipping those even in the
Can't do
paper.
in 2 minutes. Can't do in 2 minutes. Yeah, yeah.
So you skip or randomly mark those questions, even though they appear in the first 10-15 questions. But the questions that you believe that you can do in 2 minutes, you end up spending a lot of time and you're not able to skip. Even if you
Yeah,
take a call, you keep thinking about it,
yeah, yeah.
but you want to come out of that.
Hmm.
How do you want to come out of that?
Because then that timing pressure comes to my mind that okay, then I start recalculating. Okay, I have 40 minutes by my questions are, let's say,
So
more
so you are
more than,
so you understand that it's not in your interest to do that.
yes, I do understand, but in that situation I am out of my control to not think about this thing.
So in whose control are you in that situation?
I think that's maybe anxiety that okay, I need to give my best, but because of this time I have wasted in particular
You are
single question.
you are in
So
anxiety's control.
I'm not saying 100%, but in these scenarios, yes.
Nee, haha, I'm talking about that
Hmm.
scenario. I'm not saying you're always in anxiety's control.
Uh, uh,
So you are saying ki, so in that situation, let's say, and we're talking about the first 10-15 questions,
uh,
uh, and you know that, or you sort of have a sense that you can solve that question within 2 minutes, but
mhm,
you end up taking a lot of time and you're not able to sort of randomly mark or whatever, take a call and move, even though you are aware that it's not in your interest to do that.
yes.
And your reason is that you're not able to, even though given that you're aware that it's not in your interest, you still end up doing it because you are not in control of yourself.
Yeah, because that moment automatically, subconsciously, these thoughts come into my mind that okay, yes, that time pressure hits to my mind because of anxiety. Right.
Nee, nee. So in that moment, you're not able to random. You keep solving the question,
हाँ
right?
हाँ 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 हाँ,
Time
yes.
pressure तो कहाँ से? You're working against time pressure then. You're saying you're actually spending more time.
हाँ नहीं, वो आगे के क्वेश्चन में टाइम प्रेशर होता है, उस क्वेश्चन में तो यस,
हम तो उसी
स्किपिंग।
क्वेश्चन की बात
हाँ
कर रहे हैं अभी. We are not talking
हाँ
about. Of course, बाकी
हाँ
क्वेश्चन में time pressure आता है and it's against your interest, right?
हाँ
You are clear.
हाँ हाँ
But उस क्वेश्चन में, given that you are clear, it's against you. Why do you? So you are saying because of anxiety. So because of anxiety is making you do things that is against your interest.
Once again, let me correct you. Anxiety comes later, like the time pressure part. So here, I try to prove myself that okay, I have done these type of things, but I can do it, and I have solved enough. How can I be wrong here? I mean, maybe self something. I cannot say ego, but at least I know that I have done these type of questions. Why I'm not able to solve it here? These
Okay.
kind of things. Yeah.
So at that moment, when you should skip, you think that I have already invested a lot of
हाँ
time.
हाँ हाँ.
आ ही जाएगा answer in the next 15-30 seconds, even though you end up taking 1 minute, 1.5 minute more. But at that time of when you are supposed to make a decision, at that moment, this weighs on you कि अब होने वाला है ये.
Oh, yes,
ये कह रहे हो आप.
yes.
But your experience is कि actually वो होता नहीं है.
Maximum of the time it doesn't happen, or maybe I have to just maybe mark it and then move it. Maybe a point of time ऐसा हो जाता है कि see, there are some scenarios where I'm able to do it. I'm able to solve it maybe in 5-6 minutes. Then I solve it and move ahead. But in some of the cases, it doesn't happen. Maybe एक ऐसा आंसर आया मेरा जो ऑप्शन में ही नहीं है. तो फिर then I have to mark it. So either way, I'm wasting my time. Maybe first scenario, second scenario.
वो तो ठीक है, तो कह रहे हो कई केसेस में after spending 5-6 minutes
हाँ
you're able to get to the answer,
हाँ
and
हाँ
कई केसेस में the answer still doesn't come,
हाँ हाँ,
right?
right right.
So so इन दोनों में से any situation that is favorable for you?
I think that I think favorable
नहीं
is
नहीं,
only
not relative, not relative to each other. Naturally, in which
when
the answer is more is better for you, but overall, with respect to your test taking, any
Hmm.
situation is good for you.
No,
You
no,
spend.
nothing is nothing. These are like
तो वो
against.
तो फिर then we are staying with our initial hypothesis कि जो initial understanding that uh, it is against your interest to spend more time,
Hmm.
but you are spending more time, and
Hmm.
you are saying the reason is because at that moment when you are about to when you have to make a decision,
Hmm.
you have this thought that okay, this will get solved in 10-15 seconds, why skip it,
Hmm. Yeah,
right?
yeah, yes.
Even though overall you have observed कि ऐसा होता नहीं है.
हाँ, मेजर ऑफ द केसेस नहीं होता है, कुछ केसेस में हो भी जाता है, तो या
हाँ हाँ, ओवरऑल ही बात कर रहे हैं हम.
हम्म
ठीक है. सो ठीक है, तो उस टाइम जब डिसीजन लेना होता है उस टाइम लगता है कि हो जाएगा, बट नाउ वी आर अवेयर कि होता नहीं है. दिस इज द प्रॉब्लम.
आई
तो
मीन to consciously remind myself कि I have to move ahead, even if that 2 minute thing has passed, then how should I convince myself that I have to move ahead,
देखो,
you know?
कन्विंस क्यों करना है? देखो, आप ही तो हो. आप कन्विंस हो या नहीं हो, दैट्स अ सिंपल थिंग. आपको किसी को क्या कन्विंस करना है? टू अंडरस्टैंड दैट. ठीक है, इट इज जस्ट दैट यू आर नॉट कन्विंस और यू हैव नॉट अंडरस्टूड द प्रॉब्लम इटसेल्फ कि क्या प्रॉब्लम
Hmm.
है. ठीक है, अदरवाइज आप अपने ही इंटरेस्ट के अगेंस्ट क्यों जा रहे हो? यू आर नॉट
Hmm.
क्लियर कि आपका इंटरेस्ट कहाँ पे है,
Hmm.
राइट? तो उसी के
Hmm.
बारे में बात कर रहे हैं. तो अभी इट्स नॉट अबाउट कि कैसे उसको कन्विंस करें. उसको कैसे कन्विंस करेंगे, मतलब वो आप ही तो हो,
Hmm.
राइट? तो वी जस्ट ट्राइंग टू अंडरस्टैंड. तो अभी आप जो प्रॉब्लम स्टेटमेंट जो अभी मुझे नजर आ रही है वो ये है कि एट दैट मोमेंट यू हैव अ सेंस कि 10-15 सेकंड में हो जाएगा,
Hmm.
but sort of from your experience you have seen that you end up taking a lot more time,
Hmm. Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
तो अब वहां पे and you want yourself to make a different decision at that time.
So that my timing is in line, so that I shouldn't be out of time in rest of my question.
Sorry, come again.
What I'm saying, see, even if I'm getting an answer in after 5-6 minutes, then that time pressure hits off in my subsequent question. So I need to resolve this part that even if I'm not able to solve maybe 1 or 2 questions, but my timing will be sorted and rest of the question will be with me at least.
हाँ नहीं, वो तो अगेन यू आर री एम्फोसाइजिंग कि वहां पे मुझे 5 घंटियां लगाने से. ठीक है, वो तो क्लियर है मुझे. दैट इज क्लियर कि दैट इज अगेंस्ट योर इंटरेस्ट. नाउ द पॉइंट इज कि उस मोमेंट में हाउ टू टेक अ डिसीजन कि
Hmm.
मूव ऑन. तो अब now you are, let's say you are at that stage कि you have spent 2 minutes, and so does it happen in every question? So let's say every question you want to do this, that after spending 2 minutes you take a call and move on,
I
or
think
some
for
questions you want to
some
remain,
only, some only, not
some
all.
questions you want to
Uh,
remain open, some sort of
uh,
some questions you will want to spend another 30 seconds, some questions you will want
हाँ हाँ
to take a call.
हाँ
What are the characteristics of those questions in which you want to take a call, and those questions, how what is the difference between these two questions?
हाँ. Maybe sometimes it happens that maybe the first time when I read the question, I have read it, you know, maybe one or two things indifferently, या मेरा mislead हो गया, right? And then again, I reattempt, maybe I'm able to do it. So on those scenario, I have to be cautious. कि at least in first read only, I am able to do those things so that the timing thing will be sorted. तो वो
नहीं नहीं नहीं
rereading वाला problem.
नहीं 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 नहीं, ये वी आर गोइंग ऑफ ट्रैक. एक सेकेंड,
हाँ.
लेट मी राइट डाउन. कहाँ गया वो? एक सेकेंड, सॉरी. यहाँ पे है. तो आई एम नॉट ट्राइंग टू वी आर नॉट ट्राइंग टू सॉल्व अ प्रॉब्लम कि time कैसे लगे. What we are discussing right now is, okay, कि Khushbu is taking the test. She has already invested 2 minutes on a question. Now, what you're saying is, on some questions, you would want yourself, let's say, Khushbu. Let's write in third person. Move on. On other questions, she wants herself to spend another 20-30 whatever seconds and solve the question. Is that what you said?
Yes, yes, yes.
So my question was, what what differentiates these two categories of questions? That was my question.
Okay. So, as I said, there are some sorts of problems where maybe there are multiple ways to do it, but I know that I'm not able to do it in a 2 minute time, and I'm sure because it's let's say multiple calculation is involved. For some questions, I am aware that I'm not able to solve in 2 minutes. So, वो मैं skip कर सकती हूँ. That I can skip it with surety.
नहीं. अच्छा, एक सेकंड. ओके, आई एम जस्ट आस्किंग फॉर क्लैरिटी. तो एक तो क्वेश्चन जो आपने ये ऑलरेडी शेयर, देर आर सम क्वेश्चंस which by looking at them, Khushbu is already clear at the beginning that she will take more than 2 minutes. Khushbu she is able to skip those questions.
Skip meaning I'll try on surface if possible, or let's skip only, right?
She is able to not waste time.
Not waste time, right? That's the correct word.
So वो तो problem है ही नहीं हमारी. So let's not talk about those questions. Now we are talking about those questions in which you are not able to decide upfront. So you have already spent 2 minutes, and now there are some questions in which you would want to spend more time, and there are other questions in which you would want yourself to take a call and not spend 5 minutes, right? And all that.
Right.
What is the difference between these two questions? That is my question.
I think when you're written now, I'm not able to differentiate those. Maybe I have to have a single approach of that too.
So you don't, okay, you're saying you don't know the difference.
No. As you have written here, I am not able to differentiate where on which questions I am able to do it, because maybe it might be complex to differentiate those things. So better I should have the strategy of a 2 minute on all except these questions. I mean, where I'm clear on other questions, singular approach. That would be more, I think, better.
So you're saying ki you cannot differentiate, so you would rather take a call on every single question.
Then yes.
Would that be better for you? That you don't even solve the question that you could have solved in 20 seconds, 30 seconds?
I think this will not happen in all the questions. ये maybe selective में होगा, but ये जो मेरी problem है, I'm able to solve it in few of the questions. So maybe I'm able to. ऐसा होता है ना सर कि let's say 30 question है. Let's say I'm failing these in 5 question. I'm just giving an example. So let's say if I'm skipping those five में से probability. Let's say if I'm guessing, intelligent guess कि I'm doing, there is a probability of 20% of getting it correct, right? तो ठीक है, I am able to give myself on 25. तो वहां पे at least I am able to get 90% correct because I am more sure on those questions.
Okay, I'm not sure whether I heard it correctly, but let me just share my understanding. तो यार
हाँ हाँ।
सेइंग कि इफ यू टेक अ कॉल एन एवरी क्वेश्चन, तो वैसे भी ऐसे क्वेश्चंस कम ही ठीक होते हैं. सो
नहीं नहीं, ये प्रॉब्लम लिमिटेड क्वेश्चन नहीं आती है, ये वाली जो प्रॉब्लम विच आई एम, दैट स्किपिंग पार्ट और डिसीजन मेकिंग, कई बार तो यू आर श्योर ऑफ द आंसर होंगी ना।
नहीं नहीं नहीं, हाँ वो तो है ही है प्रॉब्लम. आप अच्छा, आप कह रहे हो प्रॉब्लम फ्रीक्वेंट ही नहीं है.
दिस इज ऑन सेलेक्टिव क्वेश्चंस, मे बी आप ऐसे समझ लो फ्रॉम 30 out of 5, दिस इज द प्रॉब्लम।
5 क्वेश्चन में होती है, बाकी 25 में नहीं होती है.
हाँ हाँ, बट वो इस 5 की वजह से वो 25 अफेक्ट हो जाते हैं।
नहीं नहीं नहीं, देखो 5 में तो आप कह रहे हो 5 में ये कैटेगरी होती है, राइट? दैट्स व्हाट
नहीं
यू आर
वो,
सेइंग. 5 तो क्वेश्चंस हैं जिसमें यू आर टेकिंग मोर टाइम देन यू वुड वांट टू स्पेंड. इज दैट व्हाट यू आर सेइंग, या 5
हाँ हाँ,
आर इनटू बोथ द कैटेगरीज?
तो सर आप इसको ऐसे बोल लो, मे बी 5 + 2, जो 2 में लेट्स से आई एम वेरी मच क्लियर, एंड 5 दिस प्रॉब्लम है।
तो 5 क्वेश्चंस इसमें फॉल करते हैं, 2 क्वेश्चंस इसमें फॉल करते हैं.
नहीं रिवर्स सर, 2 ऊपर एंड 5 नीचे।
अच्छा अच्छा, 2 ऊपर है और 5
हाँ
नीचे हैं.
हाँ हाँ
तो इसमें 2 क्वेश्चन, तो टोटल 7 क्वेश्चंस होते हैं जिसमें आप यू हैव
हाँ
ऑलरेडी, यू हैव नॉट
हाँ,
अराइव्ड एट द आंसर इन 2 मिनट्स. बाकी 23 में यू आर श्योर, मतलब यू कैन डू दैट. बट
ऑन एन
सेवन
एवरेज राइट।
क्वेश्चन, हाँ हाँ, एवरेज मतलब ऑफ कोर्स एवरेजेस भी ना हो, मतलब वी आर टेंटेटिवली टॉकिंग सम सब्जेक्टिव
हाँ
असेसमेंट्स, राइट? दैट्स फाइन, आई अंडरस्टैंड दैट. तो 5 क्वेश्चंस, तो 7 क्वेश्चंस होते हैं जहाँ पे ऐसी सिचुएशन आती है. और
हम्म
5 7 में से सिर्फ 2 ही क्वेश्चंस होते हैं जिसमें एक्चुअली
हम्म,
वुड वांट योरसेल्फ टू टेक अ कॉल एंड मूव ऑन.
राइट 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 यस।
और एंड यू डोंट नो कि डिफरेंस क्या होता है इन दोनों क्वेश्चंस में.
हाँ वो डिफरेंस है,
तो 7 में से 5 क्वेश्चंस को कंटिन्यू करना इज फेवरेबल फॉर यू, क्योंकि वो 20 30 सेकंड में हो ही जाएंगे.
हाँ, दैट्स व्हाट आई
और
थिंक।
हाँ, मतलब वही वही चीज बात कर रहे हैं. हाँ, दैट्स आपकी थिंकिंग के हिसाब से. और 2 में इट्स नॉट फेवरेबल.
हम्म
तो फिर तो जो भी चॉइस आप ले रहे हो वो तो मेक्स परफेक्ट सेंस. अगर आप मुझे 7 से 7 बारी, मुझे 7 में से 5 बारी एक चीज करनी सही है, तो मैं फिर वही करूंगा. और मुझे पता तो है नहीं कौन सी 2 बारी नहीं करनी है,
तो सर आप
राइट?
बोल रहे हैं कि ये जो 20 30 सेकेंड्स वाले हैं, उसमें कई बार वो 20 30 की जगह में भी 2 3 मिनट्स के हो जाते हैं इन
वो
मेनी
तो पहले
कैटेगरी।
वाला केस है. अगेन आप फिर कंफ्यूज कर रहे हो. वो तो ऑफ कोर्स से बात है कि वो तो फिर पहले वाला केस हो गया. उन क्वेश्चन में यू वुड वांट टू टेक अ कॉल एंड मूव ऑन. 20 30 सेकंड्स वाले तो वो है जिसमें यू आर एबल टू सॉल्व द क्वेश्चन.
हाँ बट सर इसमें भी एक कैटेगरी आप एक और ये जो 5 भी है, उसमें भी आप 20 30, इट्स नॉट नेसेसरी इन ऑल 5, मे बी इन 1 or 2, दैट दैट कैन स्ट्रेच।
तो ठीक है, वो फिर 5 मिनट हो गया, तो उसमें यू वुड वांट
हाँ
योर टू टेक अ कॉल, राइट?
हाँ, दैट्स द बिगेस्ट प्रॉब्लम, ये 20 सेकेंड 30 की शायद उतनी प्रॉब्लम नहीं बचेगी।
देखो फिर तो फर्स्ट में आ गया ना वो. फर्स्ट में इट नॉट कि जो आपसे हो नहीं रहा है. फर्स्ट वाज आल्सो कि जिसमें आप यू आर स्पेंडिंग अ लॉट ऑफ टाइम, राइट?
हम्म,
दैट वाज द कैटेगरी, राइट?
यस
फर्स्ट इज
यस।
नॉट कि जो हो नहीं रहा है वो तो है ये बेकार सिचुएशन. बट एक वो भी सिचुएशन इसमें 5 मिनट लगा दिए, सही आ गया, बट नहीं लगाने थे यार. 5 मिनट डजंट
हाँ
मेक.
हाँ 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 हाँ,
वो तो फर्स्ट कैटेगरी है हमारी.
ठीक है सर, हाँ राइट।
ठीक है, तो अगर आप कह रहे हो कि नंबर फिर 5 और 2 शायद सही नहीं है, लेट्स से 3 और 4 कर देते हैं, एक एक को वहां से वहां ट्रांसफर कर देते हैं.
हाँ
तो अगर आप देखो, नेचुरली बात है कि अगर 7 में से 4 बारी कंटिन्यू करना इज फेवरेबल फॉर मी, एंड आई हैव
हम्म
नो आइडिया कि व्हाट डिफरेंशिएट्स, सो आई विल ऑलवेज कंटिन्यू.
हम्म
So the choice you are making is actually in your interest. You have to understand, जहाँ पे आप कॉल ले रहे हो वहां पे तो यही कॉल ही सेंसिबल है.
हम्म,
पोस्ट फैक्टो आपको लग रहा है कि वो सेंसिबल नहीं थी, बट प्री फैक्टो तो नहीं पता ना आपको.
राइट
यू अंडरस्टैंड?
यस।
वो तो पोस्ट फैक्टो आपको पता लग रहा है इस क्वेश्चन में, बट प्री फैक्टो थोड़ा ना पता था कि इस क्वेश्चन में 3 मिनट लगने वाले हैं. एंड
हम्म
what I can gather is you have not even spent time analyzing कि कौन कौन से क्वेश्चंस होते हैं जिसमें 5 मिनट लगते हैं और कौन से क्वेश्चंस होते हैं जिसमें 2.5 मिनट में निकल
हाँ
जाता है.
राइट, मे बी आई हैव।
तो विदाउट दिस क्लैरिटी हाउ विल यू इवन मेक अ कॉल?
हम्म
कैसे वो बंदा कॉल लेगा? खुशबू कैसे कॉल लेगी? उसको पता ही नहीं है. उसको तो ये पता है कि 7 में से 4 में तो कंटिन्यू करना मेक सेंस है. कंटिन्यू करते हैं, तो शी इज डूइंग सेंसिबल थिंग. पोस्ट फैक्टो यू आर सेइंग कि ये खुशबू तो नॉनसेंस बात कर रही है, शी इज नॉट वर्किंग इन माय फेवर.
Hmm. It's making sense to me now.
देखो हमेशा जब भी आप whenever you are talking about, I think in life also some people say that, oh, I end up saying things, I end up doing things which don't make sense. Post facto don't make sense. At that time
Exactly.
it made sense. Now you have to understand why it made sense. This is what people don't do. They keep saying, oh, it doesn't make sense, I keep doing nonsense things. You are again doing another nonsense by calling that nonsense.
Exactly, sir. वो self criticism पहले आता है सर.
हाँ, और सेल्फ क्रिटिसिज्म का तो वैसे भी नॉनसेंस है. अगर मैं आपको क्रिटिसाइज कर रहा हूँ, that may make sense कि what you are doing is not in my interest, so I am criticizing you.
Hmm.
But self criticism doesn't make sense because what you are doing can never be against your interest because you're doing. So what you are doing turns out to be against you because of a lack of understanding, cannot be a lack of intent.
Hmm.
If you are doing something which is not in my favor, it could be you don't have the intent to help me, which is then criticism may make sense. Just give me a moment.
Hi, Papa.
हाँ एक सेकंड बेटा. हाँ जी भाई एक सेकंड. Okay.
Yes, you do.
Yeah. So yeah, um, criticism may make sense if there is a doubt on the intent. May make sense. I'm not saying it makes sense. There is a may there. Uh, but with self-criticism, how can there be a lack of intent? There has to be a lack of skills,
Right.
right? Lack of understanding, lack of clarity. तो, तो
Hmm.
criticism से clarity कैसे आ जाएगी? but, but that's the nonsense we engage in. Why do we do that? Again, we can criticize ourselves for being self-critical. That's again another level of nonsense we engage in. It's a fascinating thing what all we do. but uh, but then the thing is to understand why we engage in self-criticism, and that's an interesting sort of thing to observe and understand. But हाँ, in general, in your case, so essentially the point was कि मैं ऐसा क्यों कर रही हूँ, which is not
Hmm.
at that moment it is in your interest actually.
Hmm.
सिमिलरली जैसे कई लोग गुस्सा कर जाते हैं, बहुत कुछ बोल देते हैं दूसरों को, लाइक आई एम नॉनसेंस, आई एम इडियट, इतना कुछ बोल गया. नहीं, उस मोमेंट में इट मेड सेंस. एंड टिल द टाइम यू रिजॉल्व दैट मोमेंट में व्हाट मेक्स सेंस टू यू, you'll not be able to change your behavior. You can just criticize.
Hmm.
Yeah, Amla. Amla,
And
you want?
we deep
Yeah,
down.
yeah. So
Yes.
actually,
Sorry,
I've
Amlan, hold
also
on.
faced.
Amlan, sorry, hold
Sorry.
on. Kushbu wanted to say, let her complete.
No, just to conclude on those things, I agree with you. I mean, if we deep down on things and when you written things, I'm able to, you know, differentiate. Okay, this is what exactly my problem and decoding things. So yeah, everything is related to our psychology. I mean, if the psychology is going in the right way, maybe I'm able to, find a solution.
Right.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yep, you're welcome. Yeah, Amlan, sorry.
Yeah, I was just trying to add on to Khushbu's problem. Like I also faced it myself while giving the test. Like in some mocks, I was not able to complete a section on time, and like when I backtracked and analyzed, then I sort of made this mental model in my mind that whenever I am running short of time, and any question that lies in that category of either of those 4 plus 3, 7 questions, I'll just blindly skip because
Yeah,
I'm not sure whether I'm getting it right or not. And even I'm running short on time. So it's better to get the other 23 questions right in their time frame rather
yeah,
than focus on these 7 questions.
yeah.
So like for me, if I am running short on time, I'll skip. If I'm not running short of time, then maybe that extra 20, 30 seconds or 1 or 2 minutes makes sense.
Okay.
So that's what worked for
That
me.
that's what worked. Can there be a more effective approach that you can think of? So one is to take a call on all these 7 questions, right?
Yeah.
So naturally those 3 questions are out. But those 4 are
Yeah.
also out, which you could have solved by just spending. So essentially 20, 30 seconds you're getting a question right. But you are missing out on those.
Correct. But let's say if I have 15 or 18 minutes and 10 questions left, then also I think I will gain those 20, 30 seconds over say 2 questions and maybe make space for additional 1 question which I can guarantee
No, no, no,
get
no,
it right.
no, 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 no. You are again missing the context here. You're taking a call at 2 minute mark. You're not taking a call
Hmm.
before starting the question. So after you have invested 2 minutes, then I'm talking about
Got it.
what call should you take. So अब 20-30 seconds में question ठीक होने वाला है,
Hmm.
right? But you
Right.
decide कि I'll randomly mark, right?
Got
That's
it.
what you're saying. Of course, वो तो
हाँ,
अगर
it also depends on कि progress कितना है मेरा question में. Like if I'm down to 2 answer choices, then मतलब 20-30 सेकंड में हो सकता है सही. Then of course I'll just try to attempt.
नहीं फिर तो then you are saying it's not a blanket rule that you are following.
हाँ मतलब हाँ. Yes, there is more to it. Yeah.
हाँ तो फिर क्या मोड़ रहा है, तो फिर तो then you are taking a call कि ये, so then you are saying कि I decide कि where is this question likely to fall? Is it in the first category or is it in the second category?
Correct.
Right? So
Yeah.
so your one decision criteria was कि am I sort of, it's a subjective thing कि am I down to 2 options or not? There
Correct.
could be other criteria, and it could be some
Like,
criteria don't help. It could be a
mm,
lot of questions, you're down to 2 options, and then you spend the next 3 minutes on those 2 options.
that's true.
Right? We don't know. And if it is an infrequent thing, then that's random cases could still be there in every case, in every situation. But it could also be happening frequently, right? In that
Mm,
case, using that criteria to measure whether you should continue spending time may not make sense, right?
right. Yeah.
So even the criteria can be refined over time by just
Yeah.
observing what is going on in your practice, right?
Mm, mm,
So yeah, so one is you take a blanket call that any question at 2 minutes, I'm not able to arrive at the answer, I take a call. So essentially all these 7 questions, you'll just randomly mark. But in that case, of course, you are able to sort of not waste your time on these 3 questions. At the same time, you are missing out on these 4 questions that you could have gotten right by just spending 20, 30 seconds more, which is a big loss. So then the better thing could be that you are selectively uh, taking a call. So you will want to
mm,
reject all these 3, but you will also want to keep as many of these 4 as possible, right?
correct. Yeah.
So then essentially this will come only with observations, understanding what differentiates 3 and 4, let's say, and during practice, you take a call that, okay, this particular question falls in this category, but you end up spending 5 minutes, and then you realize, okay, it was actually in this category. Where did I go wrong? On which basis did I take a call? Why did that call? So that's how you refine your understanding of the differences between these two categories.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, it's more subjective than rather black and white call. Correct. Like time is one of the factors, but yeah, there are like more factors to it, which I think it's personal, depends on.
Of course, it depends on your strengths versus what the question is
Hmm.
testing. But it's not. So what I'm trying to say, it's so the whole purpose of analysis to make subjective into objective. As soon as you say this is
Got it.
one criteria, you are making it an objective call,
Hmm.
right? Subjective. ठीक है, you'll go by your feelings then. But if your feelings are not working, which is of course not working in Khushbu's case, right? Then, then the way is to become objective. And analysis is what gives you those specific points on which you can take a call.
Right.
Right. Okay. Anybody else has anything to add or comment with respect to this discussion? Okay. Good discussion. I hope it's helpful, Khushbu.
Yes. Thank you, CJ.
Yep, you're welcome. Yeah, I think you asked one more question.
Yes,
What was it?
active or passive.
क्या था वो question? Can you?
कैसा था ना CJ? Let's say if I'm reading a question in a CR, okay, and sometimes I am not actively reading and again spending a time in rereading. So, okay, and then when I come to solving, I mean eliminating choices, I'm able to do it 3 successfully. But in last 2, when this timing thing comes into my mind, okay, I'm running short of time, and then I'm not spending enough time on analyzing on last 2 choices, and then randomly, let's say if I do guess also, and then I move on. But after uh when I'm checking, okay, where I went wrong, I realized that in last 2 choices I did not spend much time for better understanding, or maybe I have spent a lot of time in rereading, or maybe my initial understanding was not up to mark. That's why my I tripped down to only last 2. Otherwise, only one option should come to my mind if if my understanding is correct. So I think my question right now here is how I should make sure that I should remind myself that I have to do active reading rather than passive reading, so that this timing pressure doesn't come and the situation doesn't happen.
The question is kind of really, how do I ask myself to do this? Why is it not doing it?
No, it's not a hard question, but in sometimes it happens that I'm not doing active reading, but in some time I'm doing it. तो वो 100% नहीं होता है. That is how it is.
Let's talk about the cases in which it is not doing. Why is it not doing in those cases? Given that it is doing in some cases. You're using it. It means your mind, which seems to be different from you. You want your mind to do one thing, it does another thing.
Why I said that? Because sometimes my mind and brain works in opposite direction. So that is why I use it that way.
Yeah, I understand. And sort of course, this is also an experience of a lot of people. So, for example, people say there are trap options and there are close options. I think there are no close options, honestly, but it's people's experience. वो कहते हैं close ये मेरे लिए तो same thing. Of course, theoretically we may agree कि yeah, you are one entity and you have a mind and all that. But experientially, you know that I want to do something, but my mind is thinking something else. So there's a distinction. Experientially, it's not the same as what your theoretical construct is, right? Which is fine. So but just wanted to also highlight कि हाँ ये है, ठीक है, something that you can ponder upon later कह सकते हैं, but the thing is कि let's focus on that. So you are again saying कि your mind is doing something which you don't want it to go to.
Exactly.
So why is it doing that thing? सिचुएशन में वो
Yeah.
एक्टिव रीड कर रहा है, किसी में वो पैसिवली रीड कर रहा है, राइट?
हाँ.
That's a perception you have. And again, perceptions could also be wrong, but I'm not getting into that. I'm just staying with your perceptions. This is your understanding. कि some cases it is actively, some cases it is passively reading. So why is it reading passively in some cases?
I'll tell you why. When that passive thing happens when I'm trying to do it very fast. It happens that way. Then connection doesn't happen and linkage doesn't happen, and then I again have to read it because when I am very much fast in particular question, so this pattern I have seen. But if I'm solving, very slowly, I mean, then active reading happens.
When it is trying to speed up.
Huh.
Okay. So another question, it is not trying to speed up.
I mean, I'm at my own speed, okay, not forcing myself to read very fast. At my own speed, then and obviously my focus is there because sometimes it happens that you are not in focus. That's a different thing. I am not asking that thing, but whenever I am at my own speed, then I do active thing.
In those questions, you are at your speed.
Yes.
So in the questions, एक second, बार-बार pronouns मेरे inconsistent है. You're saying I'm at my own speed. So then in the questions in which you read passively, you are not at your own speed.
I mean, I'm faster than my speed. See, comprehension and misreading is separately. Both I'm only, uh, uh, I'm only, differentiating here with active versus passive.
And we are trying to understand that only.
Hmm.
So you are saying in those questions in which you are reading passively, you are not at your own speed. Because if
Yes.
you're at your own speed, then you read actively.
Yeah.
So you're faster than your speed.
Yes.
So why are you faster?
Uh, because maybe I have set my mind, okay, I have to do these many questions in this particular time set.
Because
I have given myself a target.
I have given myself a target. And you don't give yourself a target in other questions in which you read actively.
I mean, yeah, now you are making me confused.
So I'm just trying to understand कि कहाँ पे प्रॉब्लम है. ये क्वेश्चन तो आपको खुद को पूछने चाहिए थे अपने आप से, जो मैं पूछ रहा हूँ.
हाँ, because you are diving deep, तो yeah, problem.
प्रॉब्लम है, आपको पता ही नहीं है कहाँ से आ रही है. आप देखो, जैसे अभी आई वाज डूइंग, अभी आप सेशन से पिछला सेशन आई हैड अ प्राइवेट ट्यूटरिंग सेशन. उसमें the person was making mistakes which I thought we had already covered in the previous session. So I asked him, had he reviewed our session recording? Said कि हाँ मैंने करा था. मैंने कहा फिर क्या सीखा था उसमें से? I was understand कि मतलब कुछ सीखा था, है मैकेनिकली गो थ्रू किया था, क्या था पहला तो था, करा भी था गो थ्रू की नहीं करा था. तो ठीक है, दैट पर्सन इज स्ट्रगलिंग. तो काफ़ी प्रॉब्लम्स हैं रीजनिंग लेवल पे. तो नेचुरली एक सेशन में सिर्फ व्हेन यू आर जस्ट गोइंग थ्रू द लाइव सेशन, लॉट ऑफ थिंग्स विल नॉट रजिस्टर. कुछ थिंग्स विल, लॉट ऑफ थिंग्स यू विल need to go through at your own pace after this session when you watch the recording. मैंने उसने करा था. Then he started sharing कि ये takeaways थे. फिर उसने shared a few things which I could understand कि उसने थोड़ा seriously ही देखा था. And then between, as he was sharing his takeaways, which was taking time because a lot of takeaways, he interrupted, sort of, he just paused and said, but that's fine. I I don't want to uh, focus on कि ये सब किया if it is not yielding results. गलतियां भी हो रही तभी मैंने पूछा था. But I don't want to just tell you कि ये सब किया है when it is not. So I just want you focus on, मतलब you just tell me कि गलत है तो गलत है. But I am not interested in the results. I am resulted in the cause of those results. Mindset था कि just tell me कि it is not working. ठीक है? Then I'll fix it. But then essentially what you are saying is कि I don't help you fix it. I just tell you it is not working. वो तो तब होगा जब तुम्हारी इंटेंट नहीं है, तुम्हारे पास स्किल्स हैं, और मैं तुम्हें बोल देता हूँ कि यार फिक्स इट, इट इज नॉट वर्किंग, एंड देन यू हैव द स्किल तो यू विल फिक्स इट. नॉर्मली द प्रॉब्लम इज नॉट पीपल डोंट हैव द इंटेंट, एंड हर किसी की इंटेंट है अपने आप को हेल्प करने. द पर्सन इज नॉट doesn't it's not that the person doesn't have an intent of improving. He has the intent, but he's faltering somewhere. So that's what I was trying to get to, कि कहाँ पे प्रॉब्लम हो रही है in the entire. देखा ही नहीं, देखा तो कैसे देखा, क्या सीखा तो उसमें कहाँ रह गया है, वट एवर. बट हियर प्लीज टेल मी कि नहीं हुआ, रिजल्ट नहीं सीख पाया मैं. मतलब इट्स लाइक कि तुम्हारे बॉस ने तुम्हें बोल दिया कि नो, यू आर नॉट गिविंग द रिजल्ट, सेल्स नहीं आ रही है, तो क्या करें. राइट. तो यहाँ तो आपके पास अज्यूम्ड है कि स्किल्स हैं, या तो अब आपको पता लग गया सेल्स नहीं आ रहे, तो ठीक है, यू विल वर्क, यू ऑलरेडी हैव द स्किल. नॉर्मली काफी लोगों के पास स्किल्स नहीं है, उनको भी सेल्स चाहिए. सिर्फ बोलने से क्या हो जाएगा कि सेल्स नहीं आ रही है, अच्छा ठीक है फिर क्या करूँ मैं, डू आई डू. बट दिस इज व्हाट पीपल डू टू देमसेल्व्स आल्सो, इंटरेस्टिंगली. अपने आप को ही बोल रहे हैं कि नहीं हो रहा, कर. बट करूँ कहाँ पे प्रॉब्लम है. राइट. अपने साथ भी कोई एटीट्यूड है जो दूसरों के साथ होना है. दूसरों के साथ भी इट्स नॉट हेल्पफुल, क्योंकि जिससे नहीं हो पा रहा है उसका तो बेटर इज कि तुम उसके साथ बैठो, फिगर इट आउट कि कहाँ पे प्रॉब्लम है, हेल्प हिम आउट, हेल्प हर आउट. अपने साथ भी वही कर रहे हैं, नहीं क्यों नहीं हो रहा है. तो बेसिकली अब जैसे उसकी जो भी लॉजिकल मिस्टेक जो भी वो मेक ही वाज मेकिंग, तो मैंने कहा जस्ट when you make those mistakes and repeatedly making similar kinds of mistakes in different ways, sort of like in, I should not be, that's the attitude कि मैं मिस्टेक का अलग अलग हर वर्जन करता रहूंगा तो मेरा क्या होगा लाइफ में. राइट. बट वहां पे तो पर्सन इज इन स्टिकी सिचुएशन कि वो बार बार सेम ही मिस्टेक के वेरिएशन होते जा रहे हैं.
Okay.
तो वहां पे व्हाट इज नीडेड इज कि ही रियली टेक्स अ लॉट ऑफ टाइम टू अंडरस्टैंड कहाँ पे फंडामेंटल प्रॉब्लम है. ही नीड टू समन ऑल हिज इंटेलेक्चुअल हॉर्स पावर टू टू रियली गेट टू द सोर्स ऑफ इट. जहाँ पे पूरी he has to really give his best. बट जहाँ पे when we need to give our best we give our worst. तो वहां पे वो बंदा क्या कर रहा है, ही इज क्रिटिसाइजिंग हिमसेल्फ कि क्या समझ नहीं आ रही क्या, ऐसा नहीं करना है. राइट. ऐसा नहीं होता, बट किसको समझा रहा है वो इस कोई.
That's
राइट.
the easiest thing for us to do, na? To do self-criticism and talking to ourselves like this.
हाँ, that's the easiest thing, but that's not helpful.
True.
And again, people are like, oh, if I don't criticize then I'll keep making mistakes. That's a fear people have. मैं उनको बोलता हूँ आराम से, राइट, एंड देन लाइक नो बट आई कांट टेक इट राम, दिस इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट फॉर मी. मार डालो अपने आप को. क्या मतलब क्रिटिसिज्म से कुछ उखाड़ ढूंढ रहे हो. देखो, क्रिटिसिज्म इज लाइक यू आर पुशिंग योरसेल्फ, pushing yourself. Of course it works in some situations that you have the skills but you're not summoning up all your skills. So sometimes push helps to really bring out your best. But in a lot of situations, people are just taking it to an extreme. कि हर केस में पुश ही करेंगे, किसी केस में भी समझना नहीं है. तो राइट, सबऑर्डिनेट से एक बारी पुश काम कर गया कि हमने पुश किया तो ही गिव अस द रिजल्ट. अब एवरी टाइम यू जस्ट पुश, वो बेचारा उसकी कोई हालत उसको समझ ही नहीं आ रहा मैं करूं क्या लाइफ में, कैसे सॉल्व होगी. वरना पुश, मोर पुश. तो बट एसेंशियली कहीं भी मिस्टेक हो रही है, देयर इज अ रीजन. ठीक है, स्पेशली विद योरसेल्फ. बाकियों के केस में तो फिर भी you can doubt the intent, right? अब
Right.
में तो naturally there is somewhere lack of clarity. That is what we are trying to get to, and that is what, in any case, if you are trying to solve a problem, that's what you have to do. कैसे
Right.
solve होगा?
But
आप जैसे
I think
आप
CJ,
explain
the way you have written now I am realizing I mean, I'm able to realize I need to have clarity on things, why I'm speeding up in situation, why this target thing. I think this is preconception in my mind. That's why I am behaving differently into situation. But I think asking these questions to myself will help, or maybe writing it down will help in actually deep diving. Then I think the problem will be very simpler as you said, in the clarity of thing. Okay, these are the things where there's the actual problem. Then these are like just for your mind purpose. Okay, this target thing and everything. These things.
right. Hmm. So what is going to help is कि a lot of people sort of start suppressing their thoughts कि ये तो नहीं है,
Hmm.
भी है या है वो एक्चुअल रीजन वो बाद में पता लगेगा. अभी जो थॉट्स आ रहे हैं, लेट देम कम. ठीक है,
Hmm.
आपके दिमाग में हो सकता है आप when you're doing it outside the session में think कि I'm give myself target, but
Hmm.
क्यों नहीं होगा पता नहीं. तो but you have just have a hunch. The point is पहले सब कुछ लिखते रहो, and then you
Hmm.
think about कि इसमें से कौन सा relevant है कौन सा relevant नहीं है. That may come later.
Hmm. Right. Right.
Yeah.
And even CJ, I just want to appreciate, like in my journey, I have never come across a person who is psychologically so inclined towards, not only for the purpose of GMAT, but definitely for this particular exam set, I am able to realize that psychology is very important. How we make decisions, how we, introspect ourselves. So it keeps motivating in the journey. When I read your post, you keep sharing. So it's like I just want to thank you for doing that for us. I mean, this is out of my gratitude for you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, my interest areas are very, I call them narrow. Some people have a negative connotation as narrow. Just means literally narrow means very specific. So life, education, spirituality. so so somehow I'm able to bring them all together.
Yeah. Total respect for that.
Thank- Okay, cool. I think some people were raising their hands. So Nilesh, we have not tackled this, and we can talk about it at the end. At the end. Ria, you were asking something? You had something to say or ask?
No, sir, Khushbu was talking about that in some situations, mind is reading active and passive. So I think I wrote what I usually do. My mind gets tired or lazy. So I don't think actively in certain questions. That's, I think, the problem that I've identified.
Why does it become lazy?
Why does it become lazy? Sir, it gets tired. Um, Maybe if I've done a couple of questions and it gets tired thinking, putting more effort. So that's why I feel this happens.
हो सकता है.
Yeah.
So sort of, yeah, or if you're doing it outside the sort of after office hours, so your mind is not willing to invest as much energy.
Yeah.
So naturally it will sort of take calls, move on, and all that. But then,
That's what happens with me. So I've done something like when I'm tired, I'm not studying then. I'm not pushing myself because it's just it in fact doing the opposite of what it should be doing. My study session, it's not helping me. It's kind of discouraging me because the real reason of not being able to answer is not spending enough time. And since my brain is not ready to spend time, I'm pushing it कि नहीं चलो करो करो करो. So this is what I've been doing consciously for a long time now. So
yeah. Yeah, very interestingly, you said I'm not pushing. So you were earlier pushing yourself.
Yes, sir, a lot.
Mm.
A lot. I was pushing myself, like I made it like a punishment for myself.
Right,
Like करना ही करना है. Like गलत क्यों हो रहा है?
correct.
And अगर गलती से सही भी हो जाता है तो not spending enough time analyzing it. So ये I've made all these mistakes. So अभी I'm just probably learning things. Still learning, but जो गलतियां कर चुके I'm still working on those की changing my approach on this. So basically, just to her point, ki mind some questions active and some questions passive. So I think for me, this was one of the reasons.
So there could be different reasons.
Yeah.
Even for the same person, different reasons for different situations.
Hmm.
So initially, so interesting part was you were saying कि पहले push करती थी कि to study, and now you are saying कि नहीं करना मुझे उस टाइम पढ़ना ही नहीं है, right?
Yeah, sir. Absolutely. Agar out of a pressure I'm doing something and it's not willfully and I'm not enjoying it, तो मुझसे नहीं हो रहा था. Abhi, I've cut down my practice from lot of questions to a very few questions, say 2 or 3 CRs,
मतलब
and
क्या हो रहा था
हाँ
मतलब
हाँ जी.
you are saying कि pressure डालने से हो भी नहीं रहा था.
हाँ सर, प्रेशर डालने से नहीं हो रहा था. लाइक आई वाज पुशिंग माई सेल्फ इवन ऑन वीकडेज, ऑफिस आवर्स से पहले, ऑफिस आवर्स के बाद, वो नहीं हो रहा था.
नहीं हो रहा था मतलब क्या हुआ, क्या नहीं हो रहा था?
सॉल्व मतलब वही थिंकिंग, मतलब आई वाज नॉट पुशिंग माई सेल्फ टू थिंक फर्दर, थिंक बियॉन्ड माई यूजुअल कैपेसिटी की क्यों नहीं आ रहा आंसर, या क्यों गलत हो रही है, या क्या जो सही हुआ वो भी क्यों हुआ, लाइक एनालिसिस
ऐसे
नहीं हुआ.
दिमाग में नहीं रहा था. You were trying, but it was not happening. You were not.
हाँ. या
You okay? So you then did you increase the push on
यस,
yourself?
आई यूज्ड टू डू दैट प्रीवियसली.
और पुश करते हैं, अब
हाँ,
करेगा.
देखते हैं क्या नहीं हो रहा. और अगर नहीं भी पुश हो रहा तो आई यूज टू मूव ऑन टू द नेक्स्ट, बिकॉज आई वाज लाइक नहीं हो रहा, आगे बढ़ो.
ठीक है, फिर आगे बढ़ गए, फिर वहां पे भी कुछ नहीं हो रहा.
क्योंकि क्योंकि कोई लर्निंग ली नहीं ना, जो प्रैक्टिस करी ज्यादा,
देन ओवर अ पीरियड ऑफ टाइम रियलाइज कि वो वैसे ही काम नहीं कर
कि
रहा.
वो वैसे ही हो रहा है. हाँ, वो हो ही नहीं रहा है.
देन यू जस्ट गिव अप.
नॉट गिव अप, या आई मीन या उस प्रैक्टिस सेशंस में आई गिव अप, बट देन रिजल्ट नहीं आया, तो देन आई केम बैक टू स्क्वायर वन, एंड देन आई एम.
I use this phrase specifically, not that
हाँ.
I I meant that, but this is essentially a lot of people, they keep pushing themselves and not realizing, without realizing that this is not working, because for them the alternative is that giving up.
हम्म.
So, for example, you're deciding कि अब मैं उस time नहीं पढ़ूंगी, I'll just enjoy my time and relax and all that. I'll not
हम्म.
spend those times. So
हम्म.
some people perceive it as giving up कि मैंने तो छोड़ ही दिया, I've given up, and there is a huge negative connotation. जैसे ही मैंने बोला give up, नहीं नहीं हाँ, and right, so there was
सर उस टाइम पे हाँ, स्टडी सेशन पॉज हो जाता ना, वॉट एवर यू कॉल इट, की गिव अप उस टाइम पे कर दिया, कि ब्रेक दे दिया अपने माइंड को, जस्ट रिलैक्स वैसे. हाँ, सो इन दैट मोमेंट यस, आई गिव अप.
हाँ, बट मैं कह रहा हूँ कि उसके साथ इतनी नेगेटिव एसोसिएशन है that it's very difficult to accept that I gave up, even though you are saying it right now. But
हाँ.
for me, it's very difficult to say that I give up on something. Yeah. Uh, if I just put it in a different words, yeah, I decide not to study in those times. There is no negative emotion.
Yeah, yeah,
Because
no, no,
if
you're right.
studying,
That's how I also said it first, ki sir, I take a pause and then I move on. Yeah, true.
correct. And that's what I said. That's why deliberately inserted this giving up. You are not using the word. You are not.
Yeah.
I inserted this phrase because you were not thinking, and that's why perhaps it was easier for you to take that call. A lot of people, they keep pushing themselves
Hmm.
till they really damage themselves,
Hmm.
because for them the alternative is giving up. It could
Hmm.
be in any domain of life. It could be in terms of career progress also.
Yeah.
कि अब
Yeah.
मेरे से 10 घंटे काम होते हैं, बट मुझे वो कोर्स भी करना है, वो कोर्स भी करना है, वो भी करना है. So you are doing 14 hours a day, or you're working in a job because you're like, because for you the alternative is giving up.
Hmm.
But this is a connotation that we have given. It's not a universal giving up. It's not कि भगवान आके तुम्हारा देखो ये give up होगा. It's your or somebody else's understanding this is equal to giving up. It is just taking a sensible call, whatever works for you. But when you use that phrase, for example, long time back, one of my students' friend, so student की friend आई थी मेरे पास, so she it was bad, so she just came over. So the student recommended her to talk to me once. She came to me, and then she was sort of a law graduate. She was working in a reputed law firm in which she was working 16, 17 hours a day. And then she was like, I can't do this. I enjoy law. Okay, I enjoy law and I love the work that I do. And I can do it for 10 hours a day. But I cannot do it for 16 hours a day. Then, as soon as I mention it to my friends or my parents, that no, I can't work, they're like, oh, be strong, don't be weak. And that girl was so torn from within that I cannot be weak. Because for her, not doing the job was being weak. And naturally, nobody wants to be a weak person. So she was torn. Oh, I don't want to do this job because 16 hours is just taking my life away. I'm just so tired. And I would rather do a job that requires 10 hours of work and I can really devote myself completely to it. But the message she was getting from around her was that, oh, she would be weak if she does that. Because being strong is really giving yourself completely, which is 16 hours a day, and working in this reputed firm. So then I asked her, what is weak and what is strong? Is weak, or let's say if you continue doing what the society is asking you to do, this is one alternative. The second alternative is you decide to do something which everyone is against. A stronger decision. What is a stronger decision? To do what everybody else is saying?
The second one, yeah.
So now I have made, I've sort of flipped it around and made sort of not doing the job or not carrying on as a strong decision. It is the same thing between continuing the job or not continuing the job. Initially, everybody was saying, oh, continuing the job is a strong decision. And then I asked her, what is strong? Following what you want or following what everybody else is saying? Following what you want. So now it's easier for her to take that call because, oh, she wants to be strong. And strong is aligned with what her experience is saying, which is not doing the job because she didn't want to do 16 hours a day. But regardless of the word, this is again somebody else is saying about what is weak and what is strong. Who gets to decide that? But still, these words have a huge role to play in our lives. Jesse, we think it's a failure. Oh, then we don't want that. If it is just another call, it's another experience of life, then we may not have a lot of resistance for that. But if we say, oh, that would be a failure, or I'll be a failure if I'm in that situation, then there is a lot of resistance. Then even though your life is miserable, you would want, otherwise, you would still want to sort of avoid that. Because तुम्हारे लिए that's even more miserable because that's a failure. Even though that may be a perfectly fine situation. For example, again, my leaving the job after IMA, a couple of years. For some people, it is an extremely big thing. Oh, how can you leave a job without a second hand? For me, it was fine.
Yeah.
In these years, and I was not कि मुझे इतना पैसा चाहिए, so मेरे लिए ठीक था. I could take that. But if I just keep thinking, oh, that would be a failure, how can an IMA guy be jobless after 2 years? Then,
Yeah.
yeah,
Valid point, sir.
it's a point. Validity is what you're giving it.
matlab, I resonate with the point. That's why I said valid.
Yeah. I understand. That's what I said. You are giving it validity, so
Yeah.
it is valid. Yeah. Anything else, sort of, with respect to what we have been discussing? Yeah, Nikita.
Sir, but for example, in mock exams, we do have section wise and we have to solve questions in one sitting. So what if our mind gets tired? Like, whereas in practice, I can take a pause and, um, uh, I can come back. But in a mock setting or in an exam setting, if my mind gets tired, I am not able to give in 100% to the next section or to the next question. So how to solve that problem?
क्या प्रॉब्लम है यहाँ पे?
So then, I mean, I didn't tend to miss out on those certain option choices, or I read little bit fast, or I'm just tired. I'm like, just end the section. There's just two, three questions left, and now the energy is also drained.
So you are saying कि tired होने के बावजूद भी क्वेश्चन ठीक होते रहे? Is that what you are saying?
Yes. I'm able to read actively, और उसके बाद भी सही हुआ है in
Tired
two.
होने के बावजूद भी you still read, so you still pay attention to everything that is there.
Yeah.
ऐसा हो सकता है?
Or how do we? Is it only through practice that we maintain कि अब पहले 15 मिनट में टायर्ड हो रहे थे, अब 20 मिनट बाद टायर्ड हो रहे हैं?
Come again?
और इधर भी क्रिएट दैट स्टैमिना कि पहले 15 मिनट में टायर्ड हो रहे थे, अब 20 मिनट बाद टायर्ड हो रहे, तो कम पॉसिबिलिटी हो इनकरेक्ट होने की, क्योंकि बिकॉज वी हैव
हाँ,
समहाउ इंक्रीज.
तो अब तो आप चेंज करो, आप करो मैं टायर्ड ही नहीं होंगी ज़्यादा, राइट? तो उससे तो प्रॉब्लम ठीक है, सॉल्व हो जाएगी. बट
हाँ
पहले टायर्ड होने पे भी मेरे सही होते रहे या मैं सेम तरीके से पढ़ती हूँ,
हाँ, वही वही. हाँ, हाउ डू वी डू दैट?
वो कैसे होगा? आई डोंट theoretically that doesn't look possible कि naturally if मेरी भी एनर्जी अगर काम कर दोगे आप, and this is also an experience I have कि अगर मेरी, if I'm doing questions let's say, and when I'm tired end up getting quant questions wrong. ठीक है, I did not pay attention, I misread and all that. तो I I think that's just a normal physical thing. उसको कैसे एड्रेस करोगे? At जिस भी कैपेबिलिटी पे आप पढ़ रहे हो, if you are tired naturally will come down. How can it remain at the same level then?
So but एग्जाम में तो यू हैव टू सॉल्व 30 क्वेश्चंस इन ईच सेक्शन और 20 questions in each section. So the
The
moment you are getting tired, you're not giving in your 100%. Maybe for some other person, they may get tired later. Maybe I'm getting tired at an earlier.
एक डिफरेंट चीज, अगेन यू आर सेइंग कि टायर्ड ही नहीं हो रहे हैं, दैट्स व्हाट यू आर सेइंग. वो तो फिर देन यू आर आस्किंग मी
मैं
डिफरेंट.
टायर्ड तब तक नहीं हो रहा जब तक सेक्शन कंप्लीट नहीं हो रहा. 2 घंटे बाद आई कैन फील टायर्ड वंस द एग्जाम इज ओवर.
वही मैं कह रहा हूँ. ऑफ कोर्स ये बात है, डिस्कशन विद रिस्पेक्ट टू द जीएमएट, ये थोड़ी ना कि अब मैं पूरा दिन टायर्ड ही नहीं होती हूँ, राइट? डिस्कशन इज 2 घंटे 2.5 घंटे का टेस्ट है, तो उसमें टायर्ड कैसे ना हो? एक तो
हाँ.
वो, पर आप मुझसे पहले यू आर आस्किंग मी डिफरेंट क्वेश्चन कि मैं टायर्ड तो हो जाती हूँ बीच में, टायर्ड के बावजूद मैं कैसे सही पढ़ती रहूँ मेरे साथ?
हाँ
एटलीस्ट
हाँ.
क्लियर इन
सर, वो
योर.
एक्चुअली इन कॉन्टेक्स्ट विद जीमैट एग्जाम ही था कि अगर 2 घंटे से पहले ही, अगर इफ आई एम गेटिंग टायर्ड, सो ईदर मे बी माई प्रैक्टिस गेम इज नॉट स्ट्रॉन्ग, या फिर आई डोंट नो व्हाट द इशू इज, बट इट हैपेंस कि अगर मैं 10, जैसे 5 CR कर लिया तो सही हो गया, 10 इन अ रो कर लिया तो फिर 6-7 के बाद I tend to get tired, and then वही question when I revisit the next day, then I'm able to solve it.
दैट इज फाइन. देखो दीज आर डाइग्रेशंस. मेन क्वेश्चन क्या था? पहले यू स्टार्टेड विद सेइंग कि टायर्ड होने के बावजूद कैसे सब सही होता रहे. नाउ इज योर क्वेश्चन चेंज्ड
So the changed one is the correct one.
कि टायर्ड ही कैसे ना हो 2.5 घंटे में.
हाँ, मतलब या फिर थोड़ा लेटर स्टेज में आए. मतलब not after the first section, maybe to second section के बाद, possibility कम हो to reduce my chances of errors and read actively.
सेकंड सेक्शन के बाद टायर्डनेस आ जाए देन यू आर फाइन.
मतलब later the better.
तो ना आए 2.5 घंटे में, लेटर द बेटर.
हाँ, best. हाँ, yeah.
के बाद यू कैन बी ऑलमोस्ट डेड, राइट? राइट,
हाँ, yeah.
सही. 2.5 घंटे के बाद जितना मर्जी डाउन चला जाए, 2.5 घंटे ना हो, राइट?
Yes, yes, yes.
नॉर्मली फिजिकल बॉडी ऐसे काम करती है कि पूरा ऐसे दिन ढन, और डज इट गो लाइक दिस?
तो बट सबका डिफरेंट है ना, डिफरेंट है ऑफ लेवल ऑफ गेटिंग टायर्ड आफ्टर रीडिंग क्वेश्चन. हर कोई बंदा एक लेवल पे तो नहीं ऑपरेट करता.
यू आर चेंजिंग. मैं अभी पहले क्वेश्चन, वो तो ठीक है, स्लोप कुड बी डिफरेंट, दैट्स व्हाट यू आर सेइंग, कि कोई ऐसे ही नीचे जा रहा है, कोई थोड़ा
हाँ.
ऐसे जा रहा है. वो तो एक डिफरेंट थिंग है. अभी जो हम जो बात कर रहे थे कि आप कह रहे हो कि 2.5 घंटे बाद जो मर्जी हो जाए, 2.5 घंटे नहीं होने चाहिए, राइट? बट मैं कह रहा हूँ 2.5 घंटे बाद इफ यू आर रियली डाउन, तो 2.5 घंटे में पहले भी हो ही रहा होगा. और अगर इफ यू आर एबल टू सॉल्व कि 2.5 घंटे में इफ यू आर नॉट टायर्ड, तो 2.5 घंटे के बाद भी नहीं होगे, विच इज द केस विद मी. ठीक है?
ओ.
मतलब इफ यू गिव मी हाफ एन आवर ब्रेक, आई कैन टेक अनदर टेस्ट. बट सो जो 2.5 घंटे के बाद, फॉर एग्जाम्पल, काफी लोग होते हैं दे आर टायर्ड, पर वो 2.5 घंटे में भी हो रहे होते हैं. इट्स जस्ट दैट विद दैट टायर्डनेस, अगर उनका लेवल इतना था, कम तो हो रहा है टायर्डनेस के साथ, बट स्टिल दे आर एबल टू गेट अ रिस्पेक्टेबल स्कोर, और वट एवर स्कोर दे आर टारगेटिंग. तो जो भी जहां से स्टार्ट करेगा, अगर वो 2.5 घंटे के बाद टायर्ड है, तो 2.5 घंटे के बीच में भी रहा होगा ना, टायर्डनेस तो बड़ी हो.
हम्म.
ये थोड़ी ना कि लास्ट क्वेश्चन में आते ही सारी टायर्डनेस बॉडी को याद आ गई. टायर्डनेस तो थी, and that would be impacting the performance. But whatever performance that person is getting still is reasonable for that person, तो उसका स्कोर आ रहा है, राइट?
या.
तो तो बात है कि वो, एक तो है कि जैसे हम, वैसे इट्स अ गुड एनालॉजी बाय द वे बन गई अपने आप, कि जैसे इट्स अ कर्व, राइट?
हम्म.
तो हमारा है कि लास्ट तक एक रीजनेबल लेवल तक रहे, राइट? तो
हम्म.
इसके दो एस्पेक्ट्स हैं, एक तो स्टार्टिंग लेवल कितना है, और एक कर्व का स्लोप कितना है. क्या बढ़िया,
हम्म.
right? So starting level तो could be different for different people. कि normally in sort of कितने energized होते हो, if you eat a lot of junk, don't sleep properly, lot of tensions going on, stress, anxiety, otherwise in life, naturally उस लेवल पे तो नहीं होगे जितना एक जिसकी लाइफ में एंजाइटी नहीं है, खाना प्रॉपर खाता है, एक्सरसाइज प्रॉपर करता है, सोता प्रॉपर है, राइट?
हम्म.
तो एक तो स्टार्टिंग लेवल चेंज हो गया.
हम्म.
देन स्लोप, कि किस लेवल पे वो जाएगा डाउन, दैट ऑल्सो डिपेंड्स ऑन नंबर ऑफ फैक्टर्स, इंक्लूडिंग कि वो चैलेंजिंग कितना है टेस्ट. मेरे लिए टेस्ट इज नॉट चैलेंजिंग. मतलब नॉट, आई एम नॉट मेकिंग इट sort of joke out of it, but हाँ,
हम्म.
it's not very challenging for me. कि ठीक है, it is to some extent challenging, but इतना challenge नहीं है, मतलब ठीक है. as I said कि I can take half an hour break, take another test. तो एक तो रीजन है
हाँ.
जो, जैसे आप कह रहे हो, जैसे एनर्जी नहीं बचती है, मतलब क्यों? क्योंकि एनर्जी इन्वेस्ट बहुत हो रही है. एक क्वेश्चन
हम्म.
को समझना इज अ चैलेंज, उसको रीजन आउट करना इज अ चैलेंज. मेरे लिए इट्स नॉट चैलेंज, बिकॉज ओवर अ पीरियड ऑफ टाइम आई हैव रीजन आउट सो मेनी थिंग. नाउ इट्स जस्ट अ परमुटेशन कॉम्बिनेशन ऑफ वेरियस थिंग्स. इट्स नॉट चैलेंजिंग. तो एक तो है कि जितना क्वेश्चंस, जितनी स्किल्स बढ़ेंगी, जितना क्वेश्चंस आर बिकमिंग इजियर फॉर यू. क्वेश्चंस इजी तब बनते हैं जब स्किल्स हैं, कॉम्प्रिहेंशन, रीजनिंग स्किल्स जितनी शार्प होती जाएंगी, उतना क्वेश्चंस विल बिकम इजियर. तो क्वेश्चंस आर इजियर, तो एनर्जी लग ही नहीं रही है, तो फिर टायर्ड क्यों हो गए ना?
हम्म.
तो एकदम नीचे क्यों जाएगा? धीरे धीरे जाएगा, क्योंकि इतनी तो एनर्जी लग ही नहीं रही है.
हम्म.
That's one aspect. Questions don't remain as challenging for you as they were earlier. That's one aspect. The second is how much you worry about the during the test. तो एक तो एनर्जी आपकी क्वेश्चन सॉल्विंग में जा रही है, एक एनर्जी आपकी जा रही है कि मेरा स्कोर आएगा नहीं आएगा, पिछला ठीक हुआ है ठीक हुआ है नहीं हुआ, अगला ठीक होगा नहीं होगा, अगले सेक्शन में, पिछले सेक्शन में. तो आपकी एनर्जी सिर्फ क्वेश्चन सॉल्व करने में नहीं जा रही है ना, आपकी एनर्जी और चीजों में भी जा रही है, जो भी
हम्म.
आपका दिमाग सोच रहा है. अब वो जितना ज्यादा वो सोच रहा है, उतनी एनर्जी जा रही है, राइट?
हम्म.
तो
हम्म.
मेरा दिमाग वो सब नहीं सोचता है. मेरा दिमाग क्वेश्चन करता है, आगे बढ़ जाता है, क्वेश्चन करता है. तो ओनली द क्वेश्चंस आर टेकिंग अवे माय एनर्जी, दैट्स व्हाई माय स्लोप इज नॉट स्टीप.
हम्म.
ये सब फैक्टर हैं.
Okay, sir, got it.
टायर्ड होने के बाद भी क्वेश्चन ठीक हो जाना या समझ आ जाना, वो तो मुझे नहीं पता यार। वो तो फिर हैक्स आ जाते हैं जो बहुत सारे इंस्टीट्यूट्स पढ़ाते रहते हैं, ये बीइंग पे ध्यान दे लो, बीइंग वाले गलत होते हैं। चलो, तो अब दिमाग तो नहीं लगा, समझ तो नहीं आई, बट क्वेश्चन बाय चांस ठीक हो गया क्योंकि वो हैक लग गया उस क्वेश्चन में। राइट, ऐसे लोग पूछते हैं कि आरसी में इतना कुछ तो नहीं समझ आ सकता 2-4 मिनट में, 3 मिनट में, फिर क्वेश्चन कैसे ठीक करें हम? अब नहीं समझ आ रहा तो क्वेश्चन गलत होंगे, और क्या, कॉम्प्रिहेंशन का टेस्ट है। पर दिया लाइक कि नहीं, बिना समझ आए सही हो जाए, ये मुझे नहीं आता।
सर और सोर्स क्या क्या चीज हो सकती है, मतलब सोर्स क्या, मतलब इफ आई एम मेकिंग अ कैलकुलेशन एरर तो इसका सोर्स क्या है, मतलब इधर आई स्लो डाउन, बट सोर्स एक हो सकता है कि आपके स्किल सेट नहीं है या यू हैव नॉट अंडरस्टूड द कॉन्सेप्ट वेल, मतलब where is that thought coming from? I don't know what all sources can, मेरे को समझता ही नहीं है, मतलब as a error tracker I can put this was my first thought, but why did this thought come in? क्योंकि मुझे कनेक्शन बनाना था और मेरे को यही समझा कि ऐसे ही बन सकता है कनेक्शन, and there's nobody to interrupt me saying कि ये गलत कनेक्शन है unless the passage itself says,
ठीक है।
या
अब
फिर if I read the GMAT club forum and when I'm understand or if I get a question wrong तो तब सही है, समझ आ गया, okay that's why,
ठीक
but
है।
बाकी I don't know what all source का भी क्या sources है।
ठीक है, तो जैसे आप कह रहे हो मुझे कुछ कनेक्शन बनाना था तो मैंने ये बना लिया, राइट।
हम्म।
ठीक है, तो अगर कनेक्शन बनाना है, वो तो मुझे बताया गया है कनेक्शन बनाना होता है, तो फिर मैं कोई भी कनेक्शन बना सकती हूँ।
मतलब
नहीं,
हाँ जो मेरे को,
जो, हाँ ऑफ कोर्स बात है, जो आपको सही लग रहे हैं वही बनाओगे, पर उसमें से कितने सही लग रहे हैं वो वेरी कर सकता है ना। कईयों में यू में बी मोर कन्विंस, कईयों में यू में लेस कन्विंस, सो हाउ कन्विंस्ड यू वर व्हेन यू वर मेकिंग दैट पर्टिकुलर कनेक्शन?
हम्म,
और इक्वली कन्विंस्ड, तो फिर वो स्किल की प्रॉब्लम होगी। इफ यू आर नॉट कन्विंस्ड, तो फिर वो प्रोसेस की प्रॉब्लम होगी। कन्विंस होने के बावजूद भी व्हाई डिडंट यू टेक अ पॉज? तो हो सकता है आप कई जगह कन्विंस नहीं भी होते हो तब भी यू डोंट टेक अ पॉज बिकॉज यू लाइक कि कनेक्शन बनाना तो बना लिया, आगे बढ़ो। देन यू रियलाइज कि अच्छा दिस इज द प्रॉब्लम, कि कनेक्शन बना तो बना लिया, मैं कोई यहाँ पे चेकलिस्ट थोड़ा कंप्लीट करनी है मैं सही कनेक्शन बनाना है, तो जहाँ पे डाउट है वहाँ पे आई विल टेक अ पॉज, यू मेक अ प्रोसेस चेंज।
हम्म,
और इफ यू रियलाइज कि डाउट का स्कोप भी नहीं था, आई वाज एक्चुअली कन्विंस्ड, दैट स्किल लेवल प्रॉब्लम, कि आपकी जो लेवल ऑफ क्लैरिटी है वहां पे आप गलती कर रहे हो बट आपको पता नहीं है कि आप गलती कर रहे हो, तो वो तो फिर एक क्लैरिटी बढ़ेगी, तब वहां पे कम से कम डाउट आना शुरू होगा।
हम्म,
राइट।
या
हम्म। ओके, एनीथिंग एल्स? वी हैव जस्ट 3 people लेफ्ट। ठीक है, तो एक तो नीलेश का क्वेश्चन है, दैट ही हैज पेस्टेड इन द चैट। So order of approaching, so whether you should go with the stronger section first or the weaker section first, right?
Yes, yes.
Normally, what I recommend is कि you try out both in the mocks and see which one is working better for you.
Okay.
ये कई लोगों के लिए weaker section makes sense कि they are the most active at that time, most energetic, so they go with the weaker first. Some people really get drained out if they take the weaker section first, so they are not able to perform well on the stronger section also. So you have to see what works for you.
Okay.
ठीक है, any other question from any one of you, Nikita, Nilesh, Shreya?
तो डीआई के सोर्सेज कहाँ से पढ़ सकते हैं,
या concept wise या questions?
दो हाँ सर, कॉन्सेप्ट वाइज एंड प्रैक्टिस बोथ।
Concept wise I think I'm not sure किसी ने बनाए हैं एनडीआई के ऊपर। जीमैट निंजा वगैरह की अगर फ्री रिसोर्सेज की बात करूँ तो हो सकता है जीमैट निंजा वगैरह ने बनाए हो।
वीडियोस ऑन यूट्यूब।
I think I'm not sure.
Yeah,
फ्री
that is
कोर्सेज की बात करूँ, कोर्सेज तो ऑफ कोर्स से बात है ही है, हमारा जीमैट इंटेंसिव है, जीमैट है, टारगेट टेस्ट पर सब में ही होंगे। क्वेश्चंस तो मेनली मुझे डेटा इनसाइट्स के ऑफिशियली पता है, बाकी नॉन ऑफिशियल जो जीमैट क्लब पे होंगे वो होंगे।
So I had emailed you एक about that. I wanted to speak. Yeah.
Yeah, you are okay if this is getting recorded?
Sir, no problem. Yeah.
Right. ठीक है, एक मिनट, just opening that at my end. So you feel fatigue and burnout uh, because you have been preparing for a long time. You take a pause and then you don't do anything or you slow down. And you know it's okay to feel this way, but it discourages you and affects your vision of why you're still on this journey. Right?
Yeah.
What to tell yourself in that state when you are discouraged and you're
Mm.
why you're on that journey. Uh, yeah, so why are you on that journey? You tell me. How do I tell you?
So I just feel मतलब एक रीजन तो पता होता है खुद को कि अगर आप टायर्ड फील कर रहे हो तो आप रुक जाओ, an obvious response to that. But I've spent a lot of time now, sir, already. 5 से 6 साल हो गए मुझे इस पे।
Right.
इसमें से 3 साल मैंने एक अटेम्प्ट दिया है। तो कभी कभी लगता है कि क्या हो रहा है।
Right. स्कूलिंग चल रही है 10 साल की।
Yeah, this was I was talking to a friend who's finished his PhD. कहते हैं मेरी तो PhD भी खत्म हो गई।
Right.
It's funny that way, but
Very helpful to know that.
yeah, बहुत बहुत encouraging है। तो I mean, पता नहीं, this journey is not leaving me. मतलब क्लोजर नहीं मिल रहा है, नहीं तो बहुत पहले ही छोड़ चुकी होती।
Right. Hmm. Hmm. So, so what question do you have for me? Or what are you trying to figure out?
This feeling, sir, this
So you are continuing because you're not able to find a feeling of closure within, right?
yeah, true.
So now you have a question, why are you not feeling that feeling of closure? So what is the question?
So question यही है कि I mean all of this I already wrote, right? कि discouragement, ये discourage होता है जब मैं रुक जाती हूँ, जब मैं आगे नहीं बढ़ रही होती हूँ। You know, when these feelings come in my mind कि क्या हो रहा है, क्यों हो रहा है, क्यों खींच दिया, इतना लंबा क्यों हो गया, तो वो feeling अब ना आए। You know, I just want कि
Nah,
it shouldn't come in between my journey like that.
it shouldn't.
हाँ, because I've
Why?
spent enough time on it already. तब ऐसे लग रहा है कि यार अब I should have a control on my thoughts, which I'm not able to.
So you should have control. So who decided that should? You.
I
Okay. You decided that you should have control, but you don't have control.
Yeah, I don't have control.
And you decided that you should have control because you invested a lot of time. Right?
हाँ मतलब yeah, I have been on this journey for a reason.
So and
So I should
now you're disappointed that you don't have control over your thoughts of disappointment.
हाँ correct.
So you're disappointed Because you don't have control over your thoughts of disappointment.
Like criticizing and then the feeling of criticism. वही जो आप point कह रहे थे starting में.
You criticize yourself,
हाँ.
still not being able to control your thoughts of self-criticism.
Yeah, correct. It's a loop. It's a vicious vicious loop. I mean.
So
तो
once you
पहले तो अपने थॉट्स को साइड करो, फिर जाके आप जीमैट की प्रिपरेशन करो. तो इट्स लाइक वेरी ड्रेनिंग. योर एनर्जी इज ड्रेन्ड आउट. आप अपने थॉट्स को संभालोगे या अपनी पढ़ाई को संभालोगे? वैसे पढ़ाई को संभालना नहीं, मतलब अप्रोच द एग्जाम इन अ बेटर वे नाउ, विच आई हैव नॉट बीन डूइंग इट. सो आई, हाँ, तो ये थॉट्स काफी ड्रेनिंग होते हैं, मतलब आपकी एनर्जी ले लेते हैं. तो वो उस पर थोड़ा कंट्रोल होना चाहिए अभी. आई दैट्स माय ओनली क्वेश्चन टू यू कि हाउ नॉट टू लेट दीज थॉट्स कम इन द वे ऑफ योर प्रेपरेशन. क्योंकि क्योंकि कहीं ना कहीं आप जब थक जाते हो, आपका मेंटल फटीग बर्नआउट होता है, उसका ऑलमोस्ट एक रीजन तो है कि आप रुक जाओ, आप पॉज ले लो. यू टेक अ ब्रेक, यू टेक अ लेजर ब्रेक, या जो भी है.
Right.
तो वो मैं करती हूँ, बट some days are just very hard.
Some days are hard.
Yeah, to continue with the journey.
Why are they hard?
Because एक तो एक होता है कि कब से एक गोल था, कब करनी थी, start my MBA journey. I think my MBA journey has already begun. I'm already on this journey. Yeah. तो वो तो है ही, but I had to, it's a desire to go to a good school and then study, exposure, everything that comes with the MBA package. And then do something that also you love doing more than what I'm doing right now. तो ये सारी चीजें जब आपके गोल होते हैं और नहीं हो रहे होते हैं, तो आपके दिमाग में ये सब थॉट्स आ रहे होते हैं. So
ठीक है. तो क्वेश्चन क्या है कि कैसे ना आए ये थॉट्स?
हाँ, to control, how to control my thoughts. Yeah.
You want to control your thoughts which you are thinking. You want to control your
Yeah. So that it doesn't come in the way of my preparation is what I'm trying to say.
you want to control yourself. तो मतलब you are not in your control.
Most of the days I am in my control.
In other days you are not in your control.
Now my thoughts take over. Yeah.
But your thoughts control you,
Some days, yes.
controlling yourself.
Huh? Sorry, sir.
Not controlling yourself, your thoughts are controlling you on those days.
Some days, yeah.
हाँ, we are talking only of those days because right उस situation की बात कर रहे हैं. So you are not controlling, your thoughts are controlling. And who is controlling your thoughts?
Nobody.
Nobody is controlling your thoughts. So then from where are they originating? What is the source of your thoughts?
Source भी मैं ही हूँ, sir, I think.
So you have thoughts which control you. Then you control yourself. Am I confusing you?
No. I know what you're saying. I only make those thoughts actually. Yeah.
No, that's fine. So there are various ways to look at it. This is one of the ways we are looking at now. So you are essentially saying, yes, essentially you are the originator of your thoughts. So essentially, if you again the same thing, so your thoughts are not aligned with your interest. So then why do you have those thoughts? So one is, of course, again, there are reasons. The thing is, one is could be out of habit also. If you keep thinking one way, then it becomes a habit. The habit is also आपकी habit है वो, and which can be just the way it has built, it can also dissolve over time. But there are other reasons also at times why you are thinking all those things. But I'll not get into right now on those things. Right now, I'll just focus on जैसे आप कह रहे हो कि how to sort of I want to put my energies into preparation, not in managing my thoughts, right? तो अभी आपके इमोशंस वगैरह whatever you are feeling discouragement, you don't want to invest your time and energy there. You want to invest your time and energy in preparation. But वो thought emotions आपके हैं. This is your experience of life. You are feeling discouraged, right?
Yeah.
Discouraged feel कर रहे हो ना? You
Mm.
don't want to spend time on yourself and you want to spend time on something else. आपका कोई फ्रेंड है वो डिस्करेज फील कर रहा है बट आप कहते हो रुक जा मुझे जीमैट प्रिपरेशन करनी है बार बार नहीं मैं तेरी टेंशन ले सकती देख ठीक है कभी कभी डिस्करेज होता है तो ठीक है बट हर बार आई रादर डू माय प्रिपरेशन हाउ विल दैट फ्रेंड फील अबाउट यू will the tag remain correct that you are a friend
Nice.
that will be in question
Yeah. True.
but that's also the response you are having to your own thoughts and emotions कि मैं अपने ही emotions के साथ टाइम नहीं स्पेंड करना चाहती बट फिर किसके साथ करना चाहते हो और तुम्हारे इमोशन से ज्यादा तुम्हारी लाइफ में कोई और चीज कैसे हो सकती है क्योंकि जो भी तुम अचीव भी करना चाहते हो वो भी तो एक पर्टिकुलर इमोशनल स्टेट के लिए ही तो है वो एमबी करके अगर मैं गारंटी दे दूं कि यू विल बी मिजरेबल व्हाई विल यू वांट टू डू एन एमबीए जो exposure that you are talking about and all that you aspire because those are associated with pleasant feelings.
True.
Essentially, you are seeking an emotional state. That's your experience of life, and that's how that's what everybody does, and that's also sensible because और क्या सीख करें अपना ही experience से सीख करेंगे. But right now the paradox is कि आप कह रहे हैं मुझे अपने experience को नहीं करना जो means to an experience है उसको you have to take care of that. MBA is a means to the experience. Experience right now is that emotional state which you're trying to handle. So priority wise, so it always makes sense to focus on this. And naturally, the problem is ki, of course, you don't want to be discouraged. It's not that you are discouraged and then you don't want to address that. That's not really the optimum state, right? But at the same time, you don't want to be discouraged. You discourage na hi ho, and every time you can just prepare, right? Right?
Yeah.
डिस्करेज तो हो रही हूँ बट आई डोंट वांट टू इन्वेस्ट टाइम इन दैट आई रेदर फोकस ऑन बट डिस्करेजमेंट के साथ पढ़ा नहीं जाता दैट्स द प्रॉब्लम अगर पढ़ा जाता होता तो मैं डिस्करेज होती रहती पढ़ती रहती देन यू आर सेइंग आई केयर अबाउट एमबीए मोर देन आई केयर अबाउट माय एक्सपीरियंस ऑफ लाइफ व्हिच इज पैराडॉक्सिकल बिकॉज़ एमबीए भी एक्सपीरियंस के लिए कर रहा हूं बट राइट नाउ वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट कि डिस्करेज नहीं होती देन आई कुड डिवोट ऑल द टाइम राइट
Yeah.
उसका नेक्स्ट स्टेज ये भी हो सकता है आप बोल देते कि मुझे इतना प्रिपेयर ही क्यों करना पड़ता है अगर मेरे पास बाकी लोगों की इतना स्किल्स होती तो देन हो ही जाता 2-3 दिन में राइट राइट
Yeah.
सो देन फिर हम कहते हैं कि यार वही स्टेज बेटर थी अभी तो हम कह रहे हैं कि डिस्करेज हो रही हो ना होती तो बेटर था सारी एनर्जी लर्निंग में जाती पर एक होता है कि लर्निंग की जरूरत ही ना होती आई ऑलरेडी हैड द स्किल्स देन आई वुड जस्ट टेक द जीमेट एंड मूव ऑन इन लाइफ राइट
Yeah.
व्हाई डोंट यू एस्पायर फॉर दैट स्टेट get what I'm trying to say here is जिस भी सिचुएशन ऑफ लाइफ में हम हैं ऑफ कोर्स बेटर सिचुएशंस एग्जिस्ट करते हैं राइट कि हम डिस्करेज ही ना होते होते तो बेटर था कि डिस्करेज हो रहे हैं एंड पार्ट ऑफ आवर एनर्जी इज इन्वेस्टेड देयर राइट उससे बेटर हो सकता था बेटर अगेन इन द वे पीपल हैव प्रेफरेंसेस आई डोंट हैव सॉर्ट ऑफ आई एम नॉट सेइंग कि आई एम अकॉर्डिंग टू मी इट इज बेटर बट लेट्स से बेटर सिचुएशन कुछ भी इतना सीखने की जरूरत ही नहीं थी ऑलरेडी कॉम्प्रिहेंशन रीजनिंग स्किल्स हैं so just by investing 2-3 months you get done with a GMAT right but किस सिचुएशन में हम हैं that is never in our control right
Yeah.
suddenly change your situation. You can only make efforts in the situation that you are in right now. Right?
Yes, sir.
Abhi, right now the situation that you are in is that you feel discouraged at times.
Hmm.
So then you tend to that. That will take away some time. But that's a part of life.
Yeah.
जैसे लर्निंग के लिए टाइम चाहिए वैसे डिस्करेजमेंट को हैंडल करने के लिए, और इफ यू हैंडल इट वेल, it's my understanding and my sort of hunch that the time that you are discouraged will come down over time. Right now, possibly you look at it as a problem. You might
Hmm.
not be handling it well also.
Hmm.
जैसे जैसे आपका फ्रेंड है, अब आप जीमैट प्रिपरेशन कर रहे हो, वो डिस्करेज बैठा है, गो टू हिम एंड से जल्दी बता, टाइम नहीं है मेरे पास इतना. Right, this is one approach. The
Yeah.
second, you go and you really spend your quality time with that person. जितना टाइम चाहिए मैं तेरे साथ. कौन सी सिचुएशन में he'll recover faster? I think in the second situation. कि अब
Yeah.
उसको दुनिया में मेरा तेरे एक बंदा है जो हर टाइम साथ है. वो अपनी अचीवमेंट के लिए मुझे नहीं बोल रहा जल्दी कर, नहीं तो मुझे निकलना है अचीवमेंट के लिए. राइट, एंड वंस दैट पर्सन इज रिकवर्ड, आपका टाइम जाएगा नहीं उसकी डिस्करेजमेंट हैंडल करने के लिए, बिकॉज ही हैज कम आउट ऑफ दैट. दैट्स माय
Hmm.
अंडरस्टैंडिंग.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yep. Anything else?
Nice,
Certain
sir.
ways to handle discouragement.
Sorry, क्या निकिता, क्या
मैं कह रही
क्वेश्चन?
हूँ ways क्या है to handle discouragement? How do we handle how do we solve when we are discouraged?
देखो, दो, इसके भी दो पर्सपेक्टिव्स हैं. अ,
Hmm.
अ, जैसे एक तो है कि पहली बात तो अगेन एड्रेसिंग द सोर्स कि
Hmm.
डिस्करेजमेंट हो रही है, वो एक अलग डिस्कशन.
Hmm.
तो फॉर एग्जांपल, let's say I go on a stage and a lot of people laugh at me.
Hmm.
Do I get discouraged? Different people will get discouraged to different extents.
Hmm.
तो सेम सिचुएशन में भी लोगों के एक्सपीरियंसेस आर वेरी डिफरेंट. तो
Hmm.
एक तो बहुत सारी चीज़ों से डिस्करेज हो रहे हैं, बहुत ज़्यादा डिस्करेज हो रहे हो किसी सिचुएशन में, देन यू हैव टू फिगर आउट कि इतना डिस्करेज क्यों हो रहे हैं. देयर आर ऑलवेज थॉट्स, देयर आर रीजंस भी.
Hmm.
एक तो वो होता है. द
Hmm.
सेकंड, जितना भी डिस्करेज हो रहे हो, uh, अब उसको कैसे मैनेज करें. डिस्करेज होने के बाद मैनेज करना इज जस्ट अबाउट कि, मतलब मुझे जो लगता है, इट्स अबाउट बीइंग कंपैशनेट विद योरसेल्फ. अगेन इफ यू कैन रिजॉल्व, तो देखो एसेंशली एक दो तरीके हैं. एक तो चोट लगे ना, एक चोट लगे तो उसमें मरहम कितनी अच्छी लग रही है.
Hmm.
तो चोट लगे ना इज गेटिंग टू द सोर्स कि वो डिस्करेजमेंट आ क्यों रही है. तो देयर आर
Okay.
स्पेसिफिक थॉट पैटर्न्स बिहाइंड इट. तो इफ यू कैन
Hmm.
एड्रेस तो चोट नहीं लगेगी, तो आगे कंपैशन की जरूरत नहीं है.
Hmm.
दूसरा है कि चोट लग चुकी है, अब मरहम कितनी अच्छी है, तो वो कितना कंपैशन है. अगेन कुड बी स्टार्टिंग फ्रॉम, अगेन इवेंचुअली इट सेल्फ कंपैशन, इट कुड बी ट्रिगर्ड बाय कंपैशन ऑफ अदर्स. So if you are a lot surrounded by a lot of people who are very compassionate, it will trigger self-compassion and then you will be able to handle it. But if there are not many people, it is going to be difficult to summon self-compassion. But if you are able to summon that, मरम हो जाएगा वहाँ पे. Of course, वो अगर
Hmm.
बार बार चोटें लगती ही रहेंगी, then you have to address that also. So essentially the solution has to be two-pronged. कि एक तो मरहम सही लग रही है, so there is enough self-compassion. After discouragement, you are able to sort of be with yourself, give yourself time to recover. कि अभी जल्दी, अपने आप से जल्दी में जा रहे हैं, जल्दी निकल डिस्करेजमेंट से, मुझे ये करना है.
Hmm.
And you're not
Hmm.
giving yourself time to recover. You're like कि तुम्हारे लिए तुमसे ज्यादा इम्पोर्टेंट तुम्हारा आउटकम है.
Hmm.
तो कंपैशन तो पता नहीं कितना ही है यहाँ पे. तो एक तो वो एस्पेक्ट है. द सेकेंड एस्पेक्ट इज कि अगर वो बार बार चोटें लग रही हैं, बार बार यू गेटिंग डिस्करेज, देन यू मे एड्रेस कि उसका सोर्स क्या है.
सर ये सोर्स ढूंढना बड़ा डिफिकल्ट है कि पता भी नहीं है सही सोर्स ढूंढ रहे हैं कि नहीं ढूंढ रहे इफ यू आर रेपिटेडली गेटिंग डिस्करेज्ड और व्हाटएवर.
मैंने कौन सा बोला आसान है?
Hmm.
और कुछ? चलो चलते हैं. I also have to leave for some dinner.
Thank
Yes.
you, sir, for the
Thank you,
session.
sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much.
Happy Holi.
Happy Holi.
Holi, sir.
Happy Holi, happy Holi. Good night. Take care.
Good night,
Yeah,
sir.
good
Bye.
night. Good night.
Bye.
Bye.